"79 years after the birth of Christ, the city of Pompeii ceased to exist, destroyed by a mountain of seething hell known as Vesuvius. On a quiet August afternoon, almost 2,000 years ago, the volcano erupted. The earth shook. Day became night. Birds fell dead from the sky. Fish died as the ocean boiled. And the people of Pompeii perished under an avalanche of volcanic ash and stone, burned, suffocated. But the faceless man begins on. Time since the destruction of Pompeii, Quintillus Aurelius was a free man. These were not the streets and avenues as Quintillus had known them 2,000 years ago. What were once well-traveled thoroughfares were now alleys and the backyard.
All right, it's time to start working on our faceless man. Before we wash him, I'm going to try to clean up some pieces, because otherwise, during the cleanup of the parts and everything, it's going to get dusty again, and these crevices are going to hold a lot of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to clean things up. As you can see here on the leg, see if I can, there you go. You can see they built a lug into the leg with a receiving port in the leg itself, the bottom leg. It also had already, just see if we can get this where you can see it, part of the casting. Well, there was, there we go, right here we go. So from here down there was some resin there that made it kind of look like a rudder or some kind. So I've already gone and cut that out, but still this area has to be worked, smoothed out a little bit, clean this up. And already this hole is pretty snotted up, so even taking that flash off already, this piece will not go in properly. So I'm gonna have to, after I clean this end up, we're gonna have to hog out that hole a little bit, make it so it goes in. Alright. The arms seem to go on pretty well the way they are. I haven't decided if I'm going to put any rods in here. I don't know that I'm going to. I think it's a pretty light arm. I don't think it's going to weight down too much and cause a problem in the future. So I think I'm just going to leave that. We'll glue that in place. Of course, we have to get rid of that hand, the snot between the hand. Looks like he sneezed a big loogie and it just got over everything. Again, we have these arm horns, elbow horns, that have to get cleaned up. One here on this side here by the arm, by the shoulder, and again in between his fingers. We're going to clean that up. This arm also seems like it's going to go on pretty good. We're just going to clean up the mating surfaces, I think, and then putty them and it should look fine. But we're going to get to work cleaning this up before we wash it. Again, just keep the resin dust from sticking into here after we washed it. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Oh, you know, one more thing. Again, for those that have never worked with resin and you're thinking of doing something like this, make sure you wear a mask when working with sanding, grinding, anything that's going to produce dust. You don't want this crap in your lungs. It'll mess you up something fierce. Alright? So, word of caution. Hang tight, be right back. Okay, so we did our cleanup for our Faceless Man. Basically, I just touched up the joints where he's going to meet, the parts are going to meet, a little bit on each side, just to remove any roughness. And they seem to fit. They seem to fit, the arms anyway, seem to have fit pretty well on their own. What was this one? This one. Anyway, they seem to fit pretty, there he goes. Seem to fit pretty well on its own. Cleaned up the hands. Looks a little better. This one, the hands took a little bit more. There was some, like he had overgrown nails on this one. I had to take those down. But yeah, that looks better. The nub that was here that I had to sand down left a divot, so I might have to putty this because I'm not liking that. But the problem with the puttying, and as you can see here, see now you got all this great texture on it. Then this part that I had sanded down is smooth. And then when I fill this in, it's going to be smooth. Now that I might be able to rough up when I put the putty in, but that's the blending part of that's kind of bothering me. This arm had it up here. That's gone. But again, now I got the smooth part. The leg had a little nub nipple on the end of it. Took that down, cleaned up all the edges around it in a flat space. Clean that up. Then I took my Dremel with the tool bit I had and I hogged this out, squirted it out a little bit better. Now when we put the leg in place, it fits. It's more gooder. It fits more better. Okay, so now it's just going to need a little bit of, if at all, a little bit of putty around here to hide that seam line, which again, it's going to be very difficult to figure out how we should do that, if at all. I'm afraid to make it flat as opposed to having a little barely visible line. I'm not sure where to go with that. And the base itself didn't have anything wrong with it, so that's good. Oh, one thing I did do too, I noticed earlier I didn't say anything. I forget which one it was. I think it was this foot. His foot was, well, I'll just say it was normal. This foot here had an additional piece on the bottom. Kind of looked like a big thick sole, made him look like a Herman Munster boot. So he would, you know, kind of like, I'm exaggerating, but he was like, you know, off kilter when he did it. So I had to take that down also, and smooth around the edges, take that lip so it doesn't have the flaring out, which is what it had before. So now he stands a little bit better. Take him, wash him, and then we're going to start working on attaching the parts, so stay tuned. Alright, so we got our Faceless Man assembled. We glued him up. What we did is, using some CA glue, attached it all the right points, put them in together, held them each one at a time for a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden they were adhered, and he's all good to go. So he's looking good right now. We have to apply some putty around the seams of his arms and the leg down here. Actually, you can hardly see it right here, so it's really cool. But it's going to require a little bit of work and blending, especially when it comes to the texture, keeping that texture. So I have to find a way to do that. I have an idea in my mind, just haven't gotten what I need yet. Basically what I'm thinking of is getting some putty and watering that putty down to a more of a pasty, more fluid, not liquid, but more of a fluid consistency. And then I was thinking of getting those tips. I've seen them in the stores before, but I can't find it right now. I went to Hobby Lobby, they didn't have it. But basically it's like a tip you'd put on like this, and it allows pinpoint accuracy. So I'd be able to go in with it and just put it right into that seam and this way I wouldn't have to worry about the filler filling in all the texture around his arm. But I haven't found them yet. I'm gonna keep looking right now, but that's gonna be next. But for now, another thing that we did for our Faceless Man is we did some work to the base. And here's what I did. Very simple, nothing out of the ordinary or special. But basically, focus. Basically, what I did, doesn't want to focus. There we go, that's gooder. More gooder. Basically, I took some scrap styrene I had. I drilled a hole in my base. I glued it in. I drilled another hole into the foot of our man. There it is. And basically, when we are ready, we'll be able to take him, instead of just having him rest on top, we'll have that peg, which will allow for more stability on him when he comes time to standing on the base and keeping him mounted for good. Really, that's about all we have right now until I can get the putty for his shoulders. But otherwise, he's looking pretty skippy. All right, stay tuned.